Hi guys, it is Aoife from Fred Laughing and I'm here with another weekly wrap up. I had a really good reading week this week, and the first book that I finished this week I'm not going to actually talk about because it's Roseblood by A.G. Howard, and I actually posted a video review of this book yesterday and I will link that up above for anyone who wants to find out my thoughts on this book. But all I will say is I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and if you want to know more you can go onto that video and find out. The next book I finished was called A Winter Fair by Minna Howard. This was one of the books I chose for the try a chapter tag, and it's the book that I decided to read first out of that tag as well. I will link that tag up above as well if you're interested in finding out about the other books that I wanted to read for that. Most of them I actually did read this week anyway. But A Winter Affair is basically about a woman called Eloise. She is in her 40s, she's recently divorced, and she is basically facing Christmas alone for the first time ever. Her twin children are off, travelling the world on a gap year. Her husband is not her husband anymore, and then she gets this offer from a family friend to become a chef at this skiing resort, I think up near Geneva, and she decides, what the heck, I'll take it, and she goes to this skiing resort and she ends up she's kind of rediscovering herself, finding out who she is as just Eloise and not as Eloise a mother or Eloise a wife. She's not really like a trained chef as well, so she's dealing with a lot of confidence issues, and this book really kind of explores her from start to finish, and we really see her confidence grow and Eloise kind of learning to kind of speak up for herself and speak up for others. And there's just a lot of drama. There's skiing drama, she goes skiing, she sees her husband, or her ex-husband is there at one point in this skiing resort, and she can't believe it. She doesn't know she suddenly has to face up to him for the first time since her divorce. She has to face him and see him with other women, and that's really hard for her to do. And then she's also staying in obviously this family friend's I guess it's a chalet, I guess, and they rent it out to other people, and they're dealing with all these really snobby guests, and she has to kind of be their chef, and has to deal with a lot of criticism at times. And then also the owner of the chalet, which is her family friend's son, is the same age as her, and there's a bit of an attraction there. And yeah, this is good. It was just I felt like there was a lot of story in it. It was about 270 pages, I think. I was reading on my Kindle, but it tells me on Goodreads it's about 270 to 280 pages. And I just felt like it felt much longer. It felt like they packed a lot of story. It felt like there was a lot going on all the time. I do think that some of the story was probably dragged out a little bit too much. It felt like it went on a little bit too long at one point. I started to get a little bit tired of it. But it just, there was a lot packed in there, and I was for the most part quite entertained by it. And I did genuinely like a lot of the characters. There was this one character, there was a lot of not women pitted against each other, but a lot of the evil characters in it were women, and older women who were trying to make their business work, or trying to be successful. And I don't always like that, where these women are made out to be like these battle axes and these horrible people, and that they try and run down anyone to get where they wanted. I feel it should be more of women propping each other up and kind of supporting each other rather than trying to mow each other down. But there was a little bit of this in that book, and I would probably prefer less of that. And there was just some dialogue issues that are just a pet peeve of mine, where someone will say I cannot do that instead of saying I can't do that, or I do not know instead of I don't know. And I just feel like there's certain times dialogue feels more natural, and I feel like saying that I don't know rather than I do not know, I just feel like that feels more natural for me to read. So there was a lot of that in this book as well, which kind of annoyed me. But overall I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, a really solid 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't as Christmassy as well as I thought it would be. Christmas was a little bit in the book, but it was more just winter and snow and skiing and stuff like that, but it wasn't actually a proper Christmassy book. But yeah, 3 out of 5 stars, and I did enjoy it. This book I read was a buddy read with Bookish Smell. It was The Snow Child by Eowyn and Ivey, and oh my god, I adored this book. This is about a couple in the 1920s, and it's their names are Jack and Mabel, and they're an older couple. They've never been able to have children, and they're kind of living this estranged life basically in Alaska. They've kind of moved to Alaska to just be by themselves, and their marriage is they're together and they love each other, but they're having trouble communicating with each other and being with each other. And then one day they make this little girl out of snow. They make a snowman, but it's a snow girl. And then the next day this actual girl starts appearing around their cabin. And they think that the wife in this Mabel, she thinks that they have made this little girl out of like magic and out of love, and this is their child that they're supposed to have. And it kind of spans a good few years, and it kind of goes with this couple kind of falling in love with this child, and this child kind of becomes like their daughter. And oh, this story is just so lovely and so magical and perfect for Christmas, perfect for winter time. It's just absolutely wonderful. I really, really enjoyed it. I've had this on my radar for quite a while, but I'm just so glad I finally picked it up because it was so lovely. The writing in it was just so lovely and quiet and magical, and I don't even know if this makes sense, but the writing felt like snow. Like, you know, snow is quiet and lovely, and there's just this magical quality to it. I just felt like that was the writing. Like, the writing just matched the theme of snow and the theme of this like Arctic wilderness, where it was like there was like a brittleness to it, but it was quiet and beautiful at the same time. And it's very melancholy as well. Like, the writing, the story itself is very melancholy, so you don't want to get your hopes up too high about whether there's going to be a happy ending or not. But yeah, I absolutely love this. This is probably one of my favourite books of the year. Fell in love with this. Really great, like just really quick read as well, very easy to get into, to fly through as well. And I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Just absolutely wonderful and magical, and I loved it. The next book I read was Miss Kane's Christmas by Caroline Mickelson. This was another one that I did have for my try chapter tag, and it's just kind of a shorter Christmas novella, and it's about a girl or a woman called Kane, and she is Santa Claus's daughter. And basically Santa has sent her to this house of this widower and his children. And the widower is like, he doesn't believe in Christmas, he doesn't believe in Santa or festiveness or anything like that, and he has it that his children aren't going to be celebrating it either, and he's a bit of a Scrooge, and he's writing a book kind of encouraging parents not to lie to their children about Santa Claus, and you know, they shouldn't lie, they shouldn't really be celebrating Christmas. And she is basically sent to Santa to try and get their festiveness back and to try and stop him being such a Scrooge. And she becomes a nanny to the children, and you know, there's kind of sparks between her and the dad, Ben Hansen. And yeah, it kind of goes from there. It's kind of a very typical Christmassy thing, very fast paced. Like, it was kind of one of those things where 3 days later, they thought that they were in love with each other, which like I do have a bit of a problem with, like, you know, 2 conversations about Christmas and you're suddenly in love with her. Like, you know, you're attracted to her, you're not in love with her. That just like annoys me. I'm just like, okay, attraction and love aren't the same thing. Like, you know, like, give it a little bit more time before you're declaring your undying love. But yeah, it was cute, it was nice, like, it was just nice for the time of year. It would make a brilliant Christmas movie. This would make a really good Christmas movie. Like, I wanted this Christmas movie. I was like fan casting in my head the whole time. Like, I literally have fan cast the dad in this, Ben, as Jude Law, but like Jude Law in the Holiday Jude Law, like where he is a dad in that. Yeah, and then I have like Carol Kane, who is like the Santa Claus's daughter, as like Anna Kendrick or someone like that. So yeah, like I totally just have it all fan cast in my head already. So this movie like needs to happen. So yeah, this was also a 3 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it for what it was, which is a short, quick, Christmassy read. And yeah, it was nice. The last book that I finished this week was Christmas at the Dog and Duck by Jill Steeples, another one I started at the try chapter tag. This one is about a girl called Ellie Brown, and she has moved back to her village, Little Leighton, from London. She got made redundant from her accountancy firm, and she's come back and she's acting as a dog walker, and she's also kind of doing shifts in the local pub which she used to work at as a teenager. And she's kind of deciding where she wants to go next, and you know, she's just kind of, you know, moseying around, having fun, you know, enjoying her life the way it is at the moment. And there's a mysterious stranger who shows up, and she's really attracted to him, and yeah, it kind of goes from there. I really loved this book. I literally just finished it before I started filming, and this was like a 4.5 stars for me. I really loved it. I wasn't expecting to love it as much. I love those kind of books. The writing was just really good. Like, the writing was so good in this. I didn't expect it to be so good. And I just, yeah, it was just really well written, really nice story, really lovely like setting, like this village. I want to live in this village. It's so nice. It's such a nice place to live. It's like idyllic countryside. People know each other and they look out for each other. Everyone's just nice and lovely. Like, it reminded me a little bit of like Dibley or somewhere, like from the Vicar of Dibley. Yeah, I just loved it so much, and like it touched on like serious topics as well. Like, there was a point in it where like the village did like they did like donations for the refugees in Calais in France, and yeah, like, and like they went over, like brought like food, or not food, they brought like clothes and stuff like that, and just things that, like, you know, refugees might need, like toiletries and stuff like that. And I just felt like that like touched on a serious topic, and it was really nice. It was really well woven into the story as well. I thought the relationship in this was really great. It really like progressed really nicely. It was really genuine. The sex scenes in it were like really tasteful and well written. These were really, really well written and really well done, and I just really enjoy how it ended up. And there's going to be like, this is actually pretty recent, like this only came out the last couple of months, and there's another book due out in 2017, June 2017, which is Summer at the Dog and Duck, and I'll definitely be reading that for summer because it was just such a nice read. I really, really enjoyed it, and I feel like this is kind of one of those books where there's so many different people in the village and so many different personalities that you could like have other books focused on different people in the village. And yeah, I just really love those kind of books. So yes, 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really, really loved this one. Really recommend people to read it. You don't really have to read it at Christmassy because it kind of spans like a good portion, like half, like second half of the year. It's not all just Christmas time. It just ends up like, it finishes up around Christmas time. But yeah, you could read this at any point in the year. But yeah, this was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. And a book I want to briefly mention, because I forgot to mention it last week, was Life of Riley by Roseblood. This was an audiobook I listened to, and it was the second book in the Molly Murphy mystery series. I read the first Molly Murphy mystery a few weeks ago, and this was the second book obviously, and it just carries on with Molly, who was an Irish woman in the early 1900s or late 1800s, I'm not really sure, in New York, and she is trying to become a private investigator, and she ends up becoming an assistant to this private investigator, and then he is killed, and she ends up having to try and solve his murder, and it just kind of goes from there, and she just ends up getting herself into all these kind of predicaments, and crazy things happen to her all the time, and it's just a really fun, like, interesting series to read basically, or to listen to. I really liked with this one is that Molly actually got a proper group of friends in this one. In the first book she was very solitary, where in this one she actually did get a group of friends, and like a group of female friends, which I loved. And she kind of explores a little bit more. It's not all just to do with this like specific mystery that she's trying to solve. She kind of does other things, and she's exploring New York, and I really loved that. She goes to some other places apart from New York as well, and yeah, I just enjoyed it. Like, I feel like a lot of what she finds out in these series is like just luck. Like, she's not really like really trying really, really hard to find these things. It's like a lot of things tend to just like fall in her lap, and she's like, oh, this will help me solve this mystery, and it kind of goes like that. But I don't really mind it because Molly is just she's so like infectious. Like, she's really just a nice character, and you can't help but really enjoy her because she's just so plucky and lovely, and you know, she's the kind of character you would like to be friends with because she's just so funny, and yeah, she's just spunky. She's full of spunk, like, and I like that. So yeah, so I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars, I do believe, and I do have the next one on my phone, and I'm going to be listening to that over the next couple of weeks too. So that is everything I read this week. Please let me know what you guys think. If you've read anything that I've read, what you guys have read, and I'll see you guys again next time.